So this is probably one of those proud in the few times that the trailer advertises one thing and the movie delivers something completely different, and I'm 100% okay with that. Hey movie fans, so I just got back from seeing A Quiet Place Day 1. Now I am a huge A Quiet Place fan. The first one back in 2018 was easily my favorite movie of that year. Rewatched it for this. I was just as infatuated with the movie now as I was back then. I absolutely love that movie's blend of horror and suspense and emotional storytelling. And then you get A Quiet Place Part 2, which was fine. I honestly don't remember really that much about it. It wasn't as good as the first one. And then they announced that they were going to be doing a prequel, A Quiet Place Day 1, without John Krasinski as director. Instead, we were originally going to get, I think, Jeff Nichols, and then he left the project. Now we have Michael Sarnoski directing this film. Now, he most recently did Nicolas Cage's Pig, which may not be for everybody, but I absolutely loved that movie. Nicolas Cage's performance in that is outstanding. It's a very somber and melancholy portrayal of grief and isolation. So I thought, yeah, that actually could really work for A Quiet Place. But then I saw the first trailer for this movie, and kind of all the trailers and all the marketing have kind of shown one thing for this movie, and maybe it's just my own assumptions, but they were 100% wrong for what this movie actually is. The trailers made it feel like this was a lot like Aliens to the original Alien, if A Quiet Place was Alien, in that like there was only a few monsters, and then this sequel has to introduce a whole bunch more of that thing because more just makes it scarier and more action and less horror. Well, I'll be honest, there's a whole lot less horror this time around, but it's not because there's more action. There's less horror this time around because there's a whole lot more character work and drama. This is easily the least scary of all the Quiet Place movies, and I am totally fine with that. What this movie actually is a beautiful, contemplative character study of a character that's really... I don't want to give away too much because the trailers really did hide some very important things about our main character of Lupita Nyong'o, who is outstanding in this movie, but it's basically just following this one character and their journey through a very specific thing in very, very trying times. Just not the trying times that the trailer would have you expect. That's still present. The monsters are still present, but there's other factors, and it's a very emotionally draining story in the best possible way. This is a drama first and foremost with some suspenseful elements, and I really, really loved it. So let's talk positives. Lupita Nyong'o is absolutely outstanding. I, like a lot of people, were introduced to her first in Black Panther, and then I saw her again in Us. She just crushes it in this movie. She will not get nominated, unfortunately, just because horror doesn't get that type of love and appreciation, but she really deserves it because what this character is asked to do. She's a very hard and cynical person throughout most of this movie, and without going into why, you get why the character is the way they are. Basically, from the get-go, they drop a bombshell on you about this character pretty quickly, and I'm like, oh boy, it's gonna be one of those type of movies, isn't it? It's gonna be very, very emotionally heavy, and this character is cold and distant at first. But as the movie progresses, they start to, the facade starts to crack and they start to open themselves up a little bit, despite the horrendous things that are happening all around them. Now, also, this movie was getting a lot of buzz because Joseph Quinn is in it. You know, Eddie from Stranger Things. Everybody loves Eddie. I was curious to see him in a teenage role of, all right, what do you get in a more drama setting or a suspense setting, something non-Stranger Things, because, he's our new Human Torch. What is Joseph Quinn going to bring to the table? While he's not the lead of this movie, he's a fantastic addition to this movie. Him and Lupita have fantastic chemistry together with such little dialogue. Since it's A Quiet Place, I'm curious to see how much each movie has dialogue-wise. This does not have a lot, just like the other ones, but the little bits that there are of dialogue really hits home, and it's just this non-verbal communication that the franchise has perfected so well. It really works. They have such good chemistry. There's a lot of beautiful, tender moments. There's some great suspense, but I think just the two lead actors in particular are so strong. There's a lot of supporting characters that kind of float in and out of the story. I won't say to what extent, but there are some crossover characters from other Quiet Place movies. So there is some connective tissue, but never to the point of oversaturation of just like, oh man, this feels like it's here, just to shoehorn in to remind you, oh yeah, you're watching a Quiet Place movie. No, they're used about the right amount of like, okay, yes, this is clearly set in a Quiet Place universe, but this is Lupita's story that Joseph Quinn joins about halfway through. They have phenomenal chemistry together, and I just absolutely love it. If I have one criticism of the movie, and it's like super nitpicky, I know, but at times it feels a little video game-ish of like, okay, we've got a certain objective that we got to do. We've got to sneak around the monsters to achieve a specific goal, right down to the point of like you kind of switch who you're following. It's almost like you swapped out what character you're playing as. It feels kind of video game-esque in that way. Not necessarily bad, but it felt a little weird, the structure at times. But the character work in this is so strong. Quiet Place has always had great and memorable characters. I really, really enjoyed who we were following. And because this is a Quiet Place, you have to have great use of sound. And again, this continues that phenomenally. Great use of sound, but also great use of music. I won't give you the proper context, but there's some musical elements that are important to the narrative, specifically in the back half, that I was like, I really like what they're going for here. I like that this feels new and fresh, but it's still in the Quiet Place universe. Like Lupita Nyong'o's character is in no way, shape, or form the same character as any member of the Abbott family who we were following in the first two. Lupita is her own thing. It's still an emotionally rewarding story, but it doesn't just feel like we copy and pasted someone else's story just to rehash the same thing over and over again. There's different perspectives naturally to what happens in this world now. I love that we've got a new perspective and a new character entirely. It's not a broken family, it's a broken individual in the middle of very, very trying times that just happens to meet other broken individuals along the way. Also, in a sense, it's almost like The Purge. The first Purge movie was relegated to one location, and then the following movies expanded to larger and larger places. This was kind of cool and refreshing to see a character in a vast, out of their depth world of a whole bunch of monsters in a wide open playground full of sound. I was kind of curious how the whole day one aspect would go into it. I like that we don't get a lot of alien info. This is not like a, well, I wonder where the aliens came from. This is first and foremost a character film more than anything else. It's got great tension and suspense, but at the end of the day, this is a great drama, a well-made drama. If you're expecting a horror movie, there's some tension, to be sure, but temper your expectations or else you might be a little upset. But by and large, I think this is an incredibly well executed movie. For me, the first A Quiet Place is still my favorite just because of the emotion of the story. I latch more onto that type of story. That being said, this is a very close second. I really, really enjoyed A Quiet Place day one, especially given the pitfalls that a lot of prequels end up falling into. This was just a fantastic, solid prequel that ties enough into A Quiet Place, but never shoehorns anything and just has great character work all around. What do you guys think? Have you seen A Quiet Place day one? What do you think about the franchise? Whatever your thoughts, let me know down in the comments below. As I like hearing from you guys. And as always, if you like what you see and I want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay sharp, movie guys and gals.